Okay, so Kit is ready. She is my time traveler. This particular pattern is a simplicity pattern, but it's from Keeper's Dolly Duds. And so you can find Keeper Dolly Duds patterns on Pixie Fair. You can find them on Etsy, and you can find several of them through Simplicity. And there's also a book that Amazon sells that is a combination of several of the Keeper's Dolly Duds historical type patterns. I chose this dress over here on the right, the apron, the jacket, and the bonnet down here. At some point, I'll make these guys too. Okay, so I wish I had that crow's eye production video where the lady goes through all the different layers and that really soothing voice, but I don't, so I'm gonna do it this way. And also too, this is just not as smooth as that because I have to take her up and down in order to change the clothing. Okay, so first of all, here's how this is supposed to work. The first garment should be the chemise. And I'm just going to slide this down. There we go. Okay, so in Kit's case, she's wearing a shorter chemise than she would be for the period, only because I made the longer chemises from Felicity's pattern. And actually, I just got kind of tired of making the longer ones. So everybody else after, like Felicity, they all got Molly's shift. So that's why it's a little shorter, because Molly, of course, is in the 40s. So she's just got a little short one on for now. And she doesn't have any sleeves on hers. Next is going to be her in the corset. So we're going to slide this down. And in this case, the corset is going to snap in the front, and then I would tighten it in the back. And that's going to be her second layer. Now, this is not necessarily a period specific corset. It does the short stays, or the stays that were for the time period, were generally corded, and they did vary. Like I said, there's a short version and there's a long version. So they were, they came in a couple different styles. This one particularly is very Victorian, but it's the pattern I have, and so basically it is the pattern that everybody is going to get for now anyway, unless I decide to buy the pattern that is most appropriate for this time period. So if anybody wants to buy me a coffee, I'll buy the pattern and make those. Okay, so we're going to put on our petticoat. Now, here's the thing about the petticoat. You can get a petticoat, or you could have a petticoat that was bodiced, or you could have a petticoat that just had the straps, and it would button a lot like an apron would over your shoulder. But the petticoats were very high because, of course, they were high-waisted. Okay, and they would go up here. So I started to make the bodiced petticoat for Kit here, or the one with the straps, but because she's not moving, the whole purpose of the straps is to hold the petticoat up because of the high waist, because you're not tying it around your natural waist. But since she's not moving, I just decided to make the high-waisted petticoat. So here she is here. Also, I did make the chemisette. So here's Kit in her chemisette, and it would have drawstrings to tie. I'll get around to that a little later. Chemisette is going to cover her neckline up here. And you know what? Also, it works as a very nice corset cover too. Okay, so far all her layers have been of some type of cotton or another. I really don't have a good supply of linen yet. At some point, I will make a few things of linen. I did get a dress secondhand, uh, but I'm saving that for something different. And it is a little heavier, which would really not be period appropriate. Okay, here's our little dress here. And you can see it's pretty much Regency style. It's got the high waistline. It's got the low neck and slightly sloping shoulders. I like the little detail in this sleeve right here, 3/4 length sleeve, and it has a little bow that ties up and draws up the corner of the sleeve and gives it a little more interest. Okay, now look at that nice weight of that. So if you are not familiar with the American Girl patterns, a lot of the patterns call for Velcro. I really don't want to use Velcro. Snaps, hooks are all historically appropriate, so there's no reason for me not to use them. This is not going to be handled by a little child, so Velcro isn't necessary. And also, Velcro tends to get into the hair of the doll. So this is the safest option to go. So I just put 2 snaps on the back of this one. What I really like the most about this pattern is the inside of the bodice is lined and sewn in such a way that it makes the inside of the bodice finished. And that adds its own body to the structure of the garment. So let me go ahead and put her into that. Now it is easier as far as dressing yourself, even dressing the dolls, to basically slide this gown. If you have this many layers on, you're sliding this gown over top of her head. And I would do the same for her as I would for myself. So I've seen the videos with the historical dressing. Everybody is sliding gowns over your head. When you have that many layers on with the petticoats and crinolines and all kind of things that are in the previous fashions, stepping into a dress is not that easy. Sliding it over your head works better. And I found that this works the same for the dolls too, especially when I had Felicity with all her 1,700 layers and Kitten those layers. And this will be fairly noticeable once we get into the Victorian period with crinolines and petticoats. Kind of really, it's really easier to put that over top of her head. Okay, so here we are. Oh, look at that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn her necklace around. Just try to turn this into a way that is going to it's one of those things where do you want the necklace inside the chemisette or outside the chemisette? Okay. I think that works about well. So I'm going to go ahead and snap her in, spin her around, snap her in. Okay. Okay, now this doll has got quite a few layers on. Okay, so here's Kit. And then I did make the apron, but I messed the apron up. I don't know what I was doing. And I sewed it on backwards. So I'm going to put the apron on to show you what it should look like, but just mind you, it's backwards. All right, so what is supposed to happen with the apron when I take it apart and put it back together again is that these 2 ends get a button and they button on. I made a Regency style apron a little while ago for myself, and it did a crisscross in the back so that I put my arms through the sleeves and the crisscross over my head. But that is the way it should look. And then it would button in the back for the apron. Oop, let it fall. Okay, so, all right, now I'm going to get the jacket on. Now, the pattern just calls this a coat. Oh, and that so reminds me, I so forgot to show you her socks with her garters tied on. They should be a little higher. She got the short socks instead of the tall knee-high ones. Josephina has the knee-high ones, but got this garter, tying them on. And the socks are made of cotton. They would be made of linen, wool, silk, cotton, basically knit. Okay, sorry about that. I digress. Let's put this jacket on. You know, it just called it a jacket. It's like a Spencer with a long coat on it. And let me put her side real quick onto the doll stand. Okay, there we go. I had some difficulty with this jacket. Basically, because it's got a lot of moving parts. It doesn't look like it, but it really does. It is also lined on the inside. And so I've really been working with my hand sewing to get these stitches to where I wanted them to be. And then once you've got these ruffles and you're folding everything up, you have a lot of bulk underneath the sewing machine. So you have to be able to deal with that and make it look neat. So I could use a little work with that. I had to take this collar apart and set it again because I wanted to really get that bulk, get rid of that bulk that was up there. Not too bad. There's a lot of it underneath here too. I was going to trim this. I have a couple different ribbons, and I couldn't find any of the ribbons that I liked. So I never did trim it. I'm still working on that. So at some point, you might see this jacket appear again with some kind of trimmings on it. I don't know. And then here's the matching bonnet. Both of these are stiffer cotton. I like it because, I mean, it actually stands by itself for the most part. And I didn't have to add any structure to it because it just kind of stands. Then I got the little buttons. These buttons are pretty much decorative because I was too lazy to make buttonholes. Which are the same as eyelets, so I could have just made buttonholes. I cannot buttonhole this with my machine. I want to say that I have a buttonholer for that lavender lady, but I think it would pretty much, the feed dogs would chew these tiny little slots. Maybe I'll just give it a try and see how it goes. All right, so let's put the jacket on. And she already has a whole lot of fabric on her. That's one of the reasons why one of the other reasons why I allowed her to have the shift with no sleeves is because I was finding that I could not fit the clothing with all of the bulk and put the arms in. And that was only because the Pleasant Company dolls, which Kit is not, are bigger in the arms than the American Girl dolls, which Kit is. And so when I printed the patterns, I had not made allowances for that. The fabric was already cut. So now, besides leaving off the sleeves for the shifts, I just increased the size of the patterns to maybe 105. It doesn't take a lot. It's just an extra, sometimes it's an extra 1/4 inch, it's the seam allowance. Sometimes it's an actually a whole half inch. It depends, but it's not a great deal. It's just have to give them that extra so that I'm putting all of the layers onto the doll and that it can work. Okay, so I did leave the apron off. I guess I could have put it on. I'm going to go ahead and put her back on the doll stand. instead of filling with her with all this clothing on. I have tightened her limbs a couple different times. She seems to me just one of those dolls who does not want to stand. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to put her bonnet on. She does have a cap on. Yeah, she has a little cap on the top. And I'm just going to place this right over top of that. Okay, there we go. Oh, we can get her. I know that looks terrible. But I'm determined to get a nice bow up here. Oh, okay, that's close enough. Bam, there we go. Let's have our little locket showing. And here is Regency kit. Okay. That's pretty much how we're going to work it. I think I'll put another few snaps down here. I don't know. I'll consider that. This is, well, for the most part, this is the only Regency outfit I'm going to make. Yeah, it is, because I'm going to go ahead and move into the 1820s, the lower half of the Georgian period. And I'm probably going to talk quite a bit about Josefina and do several different Josefina garments. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to make a video per garment or whether or not I'm going to just sit down and make them, several of them, and then have a compilation. I guess you'll know when I know. All right, thank you for watching. Hope you found this interesting. If you have any questions or comments or just want to talk about dolls, just go ahead and drop those down in the comments. I appreciate if you would like this video, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.